Hi everyone, here's a tag that I'm going to do today for Tag Tuesday called the Trick or Treat tag. But the Tuesday that I'm going to put this up, will Halloween have happened yet? I don't think so. This is an original tag by Heather and Meg from Heather Reads and Books Off the Beaten Path, and I was tagged by Heather. So it's a very simple tag, tricks and treats. 5 books that are tricks, books that did not turn out to be what you hoped for. And 5 books that are treats, books that you have read that were the best reading experiences you've ever had. That one's a hard one. So I just scrolled through my Goodreads because I can't remember everything off the top of my head. And I kind of wished I would have gone downstairs to my bookshelves for this tag, but to show you the different books, but I will just put a thing here, I guess, instead of showing you the actual books that are from on my shelves down there. So let's do the tricks. 5 books that did not turn out to be what I hoped for. The first one that I found as I scrolled was Demian by Herman Hesse. I never know how to say his name. Herman Hesse. This one I read several years ago because it was the inspiration for some songs that are in the K-pop world, BTS songs, if you are in the know about that stuff. A lot of the BTS songs that were real popular were inspired by stuff in this book, especially the Wings album. And so I wanted to read this book to see, what was inspiring these songs. It's a very short book, and I got through it just fine, but I didn't understand hardly anything in that book. I am not smart enough for that book. Not smart enough at all. And it was just weird. So weird. So I was hoping that I would be like, ooh, this is so profound, and I get it, and I can see the connections between the songs and the book, and I just really didn't. Just not smart enough for it. That's all. That's to say that it didn't turn out quite how I hoped. Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia what's his last name? Marquez? Okay. This is one of those books that you hear about all the time. It's on all the lists. It's just so literarily necessary in your life to say that you are a well-read reader, and it's diverse, and it's magic realism, and it's blah, 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 I don't know what. And I read it, and I think I remember, it's been a while again, I think I remember thinking, wow, I am so good to have read this book. Go me. But again, I didn't understand half of what was going on in that book. I didn't feel it. I didn't go away going, wow, that was the best book I've ever read. And I just kind of went away disappointed that maybe it didn't get to me as much as I had hoped. That maybe I didn't, walk away going, that was the coolest thing ever. That was so deeply mind-blowing or anything like that. I just walked away going, wow, I read that. Yay. No, just forget about it. Okay. Beatrice and Virgil was a disappointment. I mean, this was an interesting book. This was by Jan Martel, who also wrote Life of Pi. And so I loved Life of Pi, and I was hoping I would love Beatrice and Virgil the same, but it was just too weird. And so I was a little bit disappointed in that one. Weird. That's the only word I can think of to describe this book. They're animals. They're 2 animals, and I don't remember what adventure it is they're having. I'm sure it all points to some deeply allegorical thing, but like I said, most of the time, the problem with these books aren't necessarily the books themselves, but my understanding of them and just not being smart enough and a deep enough thinker. So I blame myself, not the books necessarily. This one, though, The Raven King, which is number 4 in the Raven Boys cycle, is that what it's called? Maggie Stiefvater. I love that series, but number 4, The Raven King, fell short for me. And I remember being very disappointed with that, the direction it takes, and yeah, the first book of that series, so good, but things just kind of get too bizarre and not awesome anymore by the end. And then the last one that I found as I'm scrolling is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Man, this one seemed like it had so much buzz. And we finally read it for book club, I'm pretty sure. And I was just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why all the buzz? What is so great about this book? I don't know. I feel like many books that are sort of deemed thrillers and people just absolutely love, and they get a lot of buzz, they kind of fell short for me. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a me problem again, where I'm just not getting it, or if it's just that I'm just not into that kind of a story. I don't know. All these books I probably gave 2 stars. So they're all books that I read happily through it most of the time. But at the end, I was just like, meh. So I think that's kind of what this prompt is for. Books that you kind of were a little excited to read, but then you were just disappointed with. Okay, now we have the treats. 5 books which you have read that were the best reading experience you've had. There's so many. There's so many. I don't know how to pick. So I just went to Goodreads and sorted by 5 stars and just kind of scrolled to see what would jump out at me for this particular moment to tell you about. And first up on the list is Life of Pi by Jan Martel, which you know that I just barely said. The other book that he wrote, not a favorite, but Life of Pi I loved. Loved it. That blew my mind, that book. It's so good. And it's trying to say so much about our world and our lives, I think. And I don't know if I'm smart enough to understand that one either, but I did kind of feel something with it. So another one is The Story of Edgar Sawtelle by David Robluski. I just remember, like it said, having a great reading experience with this one. And I have, isn't it a sequel? Familiaris? I don't know how to say that one word either. I have it on my Kindle. I don't know if it's the same sort of feel as the Edgar Sawtelle book, but I just remember loving that book and being so deeply immersed in that story. Although it's one of those ones where I can't really tell you much about it now. I just remember the feeling of reading it and loving it. Another one is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I loved this book so much. The sequel, or the second book, I know there's supposed to be a third that will never happen, but the second book was very strange and weird, but I loved the first one. And I loved the experience of reading that. And I also put down here Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. It is a book I read that I've told you many times when I was too young to understand it. And then when I reread it, I think I've reread it twice maybe. I'm not exactly sure on that one. Then I just love it. And I get so wrapped up in that story, as I do many of Dickens' books. And I know he's pretty wordy. And I know, it's kind of a struggle to get through some of his books, but I always end up being really wrapped up in the story, in the characters, and the crazy stuff that's happening. And that one was it hit me especially hard when I reread it, when I realized how great of a book it really was. And then the last one that I've grabbed off of my list as I scrolled is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is a family saga book telling the story of a family who started out in Korea, but that ended up in Japan and the whole Japanese occupation and the way Koreans were treated in Japan, and World War II was in it. All the world and historical events that happened in those 2 countries during this time period are kind of touched on through the eyes of this girl and this family, and it is so good. Wonderful reading experience. But like I said, that is just a little taste of what I found as I scrolled today, so that I could answer the prompt. There's so many books that I had an amazing reading experience with. So many treats of books. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little taste of some that I came up with for this prompt. And if you would like to do this one, then you are tagged. And who cares if October is pretty much over with and we're out of the quote-unquote spooky season. You can do it whenever. I'm sure it's fine. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.